From the terrifying depths of the ocean to the excitement of the cinema screen, in 1975 Jaws hit theatres, and the world of movies was never going to be the same again. It also catapulted the career of its young and upcoming director Steven Spielberg. The ultimate shark monster movie, where a menacing great white shark terrorizes the small holiday island of Amity. A movie which invented the summer blockbuster, which brought in $472 million on its mere $9 million budget. But we didn't just love this movie for its exciting underwater terror, but also for its likeable and relatable characters. It's the story of three men with very different backgrounds, setting out to sea in order to stop this menacing leviathan, this deadly and dangerous great white shark. And on this memorable voyage was Amity's chief of police Brody, played by Roy Scheider, Hoopa, a marine biologist played by Richard Dreyfuss, and Quint, an old-school sea captain played by Robert Shaw. Jaws became an instant classic, a trendsetter for other movies. It excited us, thrilled us, and enticed us. But most of all, it terrified us. So it's time to go back into the water as we dive into 10 things that you didn't know about Jaws. Okay, at this point, I think we all know all there is to know about Jaws. I mean, after all, it's Jaws. But you may be surprised. Maybe I unearthed a few things that you probably didn't know about. So get ready to tell Harry that he has a bad hat as we check it out.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Number 10. Jaws was created out of financial woes. Jaws is without a doubt one of the greatest stories ever told. It seems simplistic. A giant shark terrorizing a small town, but it's the human interactions that make it that bit more captivating. But where did it all start? Well, Jaws came from the mind of American author Peter Benchley, who grew up with a fascination of sharks. In 1971, Benchley had a wife and children, and times were tough, as he was struggling to make ends meet as a freelance writer. Benchley met up with publisher Thomas Congdon to brainstorm several ideas that he had for potential books. One of those ideas being about a shark terrorizing a seaside town. Congdon liked that idea, and Congdon paid Benchley in advance to get to work on writing a manuscript, and so Benchley went to work, where he had written, well, absolutely nothing. Yep, not one word to paper. It was only when Benchley was reminded by his agent that if he didn't provide the goods, then he'll have to return his advance payment, which was out of the question as Benchley already spent the money. He quickly put together a manuscript, but Congdon didn't like it, finding it to be too comical. Congdon did however like the first few pages, and told Benchley to make the story more in tone with those pages. It took him a year and a half to write the book, where he would be writing it in makeshift offices and even a converted turkey coop. When it came time to publishing, Benchley and Congdon couldn't agree on a title. Several were considered, like The Stillness in the Water, Leviathan Rising, and The Jaws of Death. It was literally at the very last minute that it was agreed to simply call it Jaws, on the account that it was short and sweet and would fit on the book's cover. The book was published and was a huge success, much to the surprise of Benchley, as he felt that no one would read it, as it was his first book and about a fish. There are, of course, many differences between the Jaws book and movie, such as the book has the inclusion of the Mafia and a subplot where Chief Brody's wife Ellen Brody and Hoopa have an affair. In the movie, the characters were more likeable, which I think improves the story and makes us care more about the characters. Number 9. Spielberg saw Jaws as a sequel. Universal producers Richard Zanuck and David Brown saw the potential of Jaws on the big screen and bought the rights to the book before it was even published. Their first choice of director was John Sturges, whom had been directing movies since the 40s and had directed many classics such as The Magnificent Seven. However, the producers grew tired of Sturgis and didn't like the fact that he kept referring to the shark as a whale, so he was gone. A young, fresh-faced 26-year-old Steven Spielberg was approached by the producers on the account that he was currently directing another movie that they were producing at the time called The Sugarland Express. When Spielberg first heard the title of Jaws, he didn't know what to make of it, thinking that it might be about a dentist. When he learned of the story, he felt that it was very similar to a 1971 TV movie that he had directed called Duel, which was about a large, menacing truck hunting down a lone man without any rhyme or reason. The truck was the hunter, and the terrified man was prey. Spielberg thought that Jaws was like Duel, only it was Duel in the water, as both stories were about near unstoppable monstrous beasts preying on an everyman, and both titles were a single 4-letter word, so he saw Jaws as a sequel to Duel. And so these similarities alone got Spielberg excited to direct Jaws. Number 8. Spielberg then got cold feet. Once being hired as the director of Jaws, Steven Spielberg then started to have second doubts about directing the movie, as he didn't want to be typecast as a monster director. He thought that he would be known as the truck and shark director, and was instead starting to get more interested in directing a movie called Lucky Lady for 20th Century Fox. But thankfully, producer David Brown then convinced him to stay on Jaws' production. But Spielberg had another problem, that being the script. Jaws author Peter Benchley had written 3 drafts of the script, but Spielberg wasn't sold on certain aspects of them, particularly the human characters. Then playwright and scriptwriter Howard Sackler did some uncredited rewrites to the script, which changed a lot of the characterizations. Then Spielberg wanted more humour added to the script, where he hired Carl Gottlieb to do more rewrites, who also has a small part in Jaws. Gottlieb would more or less rewrite the entire script over a 9-week period. And then after that, even more scriptwriters would come on board to add some more minor contributions, including John Milius, Matthew Robbins, and Hull Barwood. And even Spielberg himself would make his own changes and adjustments to the script. And when Robert Shaw was cast as Quint, he even rewrote some of his character's dialogue. So this script really was massive, with many writers coming on board adding their own pieces to the script. Usually this results in a disastrous, uneven script, but with Jaws it actually perfects it and benefits it. Number 7. Casting. When it came to the movie's protagonist, Chief Brody, the initial choice for the part was Robert Duvall, but he would only star in the movie if he could play Quint, so that was out the question. Charlton Heston really wanted to play the part of Brody, but Spielberg thought that his presence in the movie would be too grandiose given his mainstream Hollywood stardom, and that it just wouldn't work for him to play a modest community police chief. Roy Scheider got involved after eavesdropping on Spielberg talking about Jaws at a party, so he then lobbied for the part, and he was cast, although Spielberg was worried that he'll be too much of a tough guy thanks to his role in The French Connection, but no, that wasn't the case. Scheider was great. It was 9 days till Jaws' production was to start, and the vital roles of Quint and Hoopa were yet to be cast. Sterling Hayden and Lee Marvin were offered the part of Quint, but they both turned it down. Robert Shaw was then offered the part, but he also turned it down, on the account that he did not like the Jaws book. But he then accepted the role after being urged to do so by his wife and secretary. When it came time to Hoopa, many young actors of the time were considered, including Jon Voight and Jeff Bridges. But it was Spielberg's friend George Lucas who recommended Richard Dreyfuss, so he was offered the part, and just like that, he also turned it down. But after Dreyfuss saw an early screening of a movie that he had just starred in, he thought that his performance was so bad that when people watched this movie he wouldn't get any more offers, so he then very quickly accepted Jaws as a way to guarantee that he had work. And so, just as with the script rewrites, the cast of Jaws is definitely a highlight of the movie. Number 6. Robert Shaw insults the locals. The production of Jaws was searching for a seaside town with white sandy beaches, a place that'll look like a typical tourist holiday hotspot. So the place that was chosen was an island called Martha's Vineyard, which is located south of Cape Cod in Massachusetts. The town became Amity Island for Jaws, and it's a nice, fun-looking community that is a lived-in seaside town, with the location almost being a character itself within the movie. The shoot was only meant to last 55 days, but due to the complexities of making Jaws, it was drawn out to a tiring 159 days, which led to a very tired and fed up cast and crew. Yeah, this was not an easy movie to make. In fact, in a rare TV interview that Robert Shaw gave during the shoot, he kind of expressed some of his frustrations, calling the filming process of Jaws to be physically unpleasant and dangerous. He also talks about staying in Martha's vineyard longer than expected, where he says this.
There's a lot of skeletons in the cupboard here, you know. There's more incest going on in Martha's vineyard than probably in the United States. Oh, yes.
Yep, he just said that the island is full of...
incest.
Well, yeah, that. Who knows, maybe he was just having an off day. In fact, as we see on screen, the Quint and Hoopa characters really didn't get along, but they also didn't get along in real life. Actors Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss had a really prickly relationship behind the scenes, with stories of Shaw getting drunk and making fun of Dreyfuss's weight and trying to pressure him into performing dangerous stunts.
Won't have to take this abuse much longer.
And Dreyfuss just talks interminably.
Spielberg would admit though that their tension behind the scenes added to the tension on the screen, so it actually helped with their performances. As for the movie's tiring, lengthy shoot, well, the shoot had transpired into winter, so everyone was cold and miserable. And Spielberg said that he heard talks and whispers that his career as a director was over and that no one would ever hire him again. So, why did the shoot go over 100 days? Well, that's because of Bruce, of course. Yeah, good old Brucey boy. Number 5. That damn shark just wouldn't work. There was an idea by the producers to use a real great white shark for Jaws, and to just train it so it can perform for the camera. But yeah, that's impossible. So 3 model sharks were created, which could be mechanically operated. These sharks were called Bruce, named after Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce Raymer. And no doubt about it, these mechanical sharks were truly amazing props for their time. However, there was just one problem. They didn't work. Yep, trying to film these sharks in the water was damn near impossible, as they just kept on malfunctioning. One of the prop sharks even sank to the bottom of the ocean, which led to the crew having to retrieve it. As if it wasn't complicated enough, the sharks would require 14 operators to control. Filming with the mechanical sharks was just a nightmare. Because of this, the film crew dubbed the movie as Flaws. And Richard Dreyfuss himself would say, quote, "We started the film without a script, without a cast, and without a shark." To make matters worse, Jaws was the first major movie to be filmed on the ocean, which presented its own problems, such as bad weather, seasickness, cameras and other technical equipment getting damaged thanks to being soaked, along with boats and sail yachts continuously getting in the frame, causing reshoots. And on one occasion, the Orca boat even started to sink with the cast still inside. The average working day on Jaws was a grueling 12-hour-long day, with the cast and crew tired and fed up, with Robert Shaw quickly fleeing to Canada any opportunity that he got. All these problems with the mechanical sharks and filming on the ocean led to Jaws' budget to balloon from $4 million to a $9 million budget. But to be honest, the malfunctions with the mechanical shark was actually something of a blessing, as it led to the shark to be seen less in the movie. And sometimes not seeing the monster but knowing it's there is actually more effective than actually showing the monster. Take the start of the movie where the Chrissy character is eaten. Originally, we were meant to see the shark in all its glory there and then. But not seeing the shark and seeing this young lady get mauled by something unseen is way more effective. It's also because of this that in many shots we see the yellow floating barrels instead of the shark, which once again is very effective as it signals that the monster is there without showing it. And something else which definitely helps build up the tension is the masterful score by John Williams, which was voted the 6th greatest movie score by the American Film Institute. Even though we can't see the shark, we know it's there thanks to Williams' suspenseful score, which has an increasing build-up and tension. And the end result is a perfect movie. But make no mistake about it, Jaws was a nightmare movie to make. Like, making this movie was just an horrendous experience for all. Number 4. Hoopa survives. Now, faulty mechanical sharks aside, Jaws actually did use some footage of real-life sharks. This footage was specifically shot for Jaws by husband and wife shark documentary filmmakers Ron and Valerie Taylor, and their shark footage was filmed at a reef called Dangerous Reef in South Australia. So yeah, some of Jaws was filmed here in Australia. When it came time to filming the cage scene with the Hoopa character in the shark cage, the Taylors decided to use a short person as a stunt double in a smaller cage, in order to make the sharks in the area look bigger. And a shark did actually attack the cage while filming that scene. Luckily for the actor playing Hoopa, he wasn't actually in the cage when the shark attacked it. And they knew that they had some incredible footage, and when the footage was sent to Spielberg, he wanted to incorporate it into the movie. There was one problem though, you don't see anyone in the cage when the shark attacks it, on the account that the actor wasn't in there. In the original script, Hoopa was to die in the cage just like he did in the book. So the script was changed, so Hoopa escapes when the cage is being attacked, and thus, in the Jaws movie, Hoopa never dies. So it's because of that real shark attack that one of the most beloved characters in movie history didn't die. Well, the more you know, I guess. Number 3. How was it rated PG? Without a doubt, Jaws is one terrifying movie with plenty of blood and severed limbs, along with people getting eaten. And so understandably, Jaws was given an R rating by the MPAA, but the studio really wanted a PG rating in order to get more of a widespread release. So some trims and adjustments were made in order for Jaws to get a PG rating. These removed scenes include the man who had his leg bitten off getting pulled along by the shark where he drags Michael Brody to safety, and extended shots of the shark eating Alex Kittner. And in black and white, these shots are pretty terrifying. I don't know if this is true, but I heard from somewhere that Spielberg got Jaws a PG rating because one of the main bases of an R rating was a fear of kids copying violence and other dangerous acts seen in movies, and Spielberg argued that kids aren't likely to start swimming and eating people like the shark does. But yeah, I don't know if that's true, that's just something I heard along the way. But it's honestly remarkable that Jaws got a PG rating, and after a screening of the movie, Spielberg felt that one more scare was needed, where he filmed the jump scare moment of Ben Gardner's head popping out the boat. The studio didn't want to fork out the extra cash for filming this scene, so Spielberg used $3,000 of his own money to film it. And this is what the head prop looks like now. Have fun seeing that in your nightmares. And the scene worked! My parents told me that they saw Jaws at the local movie theatre when it came out all the way back in 1975. And that scene where the head popped out literally had everyone screaming and leaping off their seats. Number 2. Award season woes. So Jaws came out in June 1975 and it was a monster hit, no pun intended. The whole world had gone Jaws crazy. The movie even had an extended stay in cinemas, and everyone wanted a piece of Jaws, as there was Jaws merchandise all over the place. There was even Jaws jewelry. You know that stuff has gone serious when there's Jaws jewelry. So Spielberg was bound to win a Best Director nomination at the 1976 Academy Awards. In fact, he was so confident, he filmed himself with his friends watching the awards to witness his crowning achievement.
You're about to see us sweep the nominations. We're very confident.
And lo and behold, Spielberg wasn't nominated.
I didn't get it! I wasn't nominated!
And you can just see the disappointment in his face. Yeah, and Spielberg's friends didn't seem too happy either that Spielberg wasn't nominated.
This man made Jaws. Are you kidding? Who's kidding who around here?
It's honestly really sad to watch, and you just can't help but feel bad for the guy. Jaws did, however, win 3 Academy Awards for Best Editing, Best Sound, and Best Score, not to mention the ton of other awards that Jaws did win, and Spielberg would go on to win 3 Academy Awards later on. It's just kind of sad because he was so sure that he was going to get nominated. But either way, that didn't stop Jaws from becoming one of the greatest movies of all time. Bonus: a look into my Jaws merch. Yeah, I'm a huge Jaws fan, and over the years I have collected a lot of Jaws memorabilia. So before we get to number 1, allow me to show you some of my Jaws collection. Here we have my Jaws book. Now, it's not the first edition, but I do believe it's the second edition, and I also like how on the cover it's nighttime. It just makes the picture creepy. Here we have the Jaws logbook, which gives great insights into the making of Jaws. And of course, the Jaws 2 novelization. Yep, Jaws 2 got a novelization. And here we have the Jaws the Revenge novelization. Yes, there was a novelization of this too, and this time, it's ridiculous. What's interesting about this book is that it's closer to the original Jaws the Revenge script, so it has the subplot about the shark being controlled by voodoo, as opposed to the movie where the shark is just powered by revenge. Here is my Bruce action figure. Yeah, I love this guy. Every Jaws fan should have their own shark figure. I don't know if you guys can see him in the plastic there. Yeah, he's just chilling out, waiting for the perfect time to strike. Here we have a Jaws cup. Nothing else to say really, it's a cup, and it's a Jaws cup, so you can pour your drinks into it while getting drunk and singing Show Me the Way to Go Home. Here's the Jaws can holder. Now I don't know what you guys call these things in the States, but here they are called stubby holders, where you just slide your beverage cans into these things. Here is my Jaws DVD. I believe this is a release from sometime in the early 2000s. They changed the shark on the cover a bit so it doesn't look exactly like the one on the movie's poster. And yeah, there's the artwork on the back. Here we have the DVDs for Jaws 2, 3, and The Revenge. And they really didn't put any efforts into these releases. In fact, all the covers are the same picture of the shark, just each cover is zoomed in that little bit more. They really weren't trying with these ones. Here's the American VHS releases for Jaws 1 and 2. You can tell they are American because they have those thin cardboard cases. Simple, yet effective. Gets the job done. Here's a VHS copy of Jaws 2 that I bought when I was a kid. And you see the thin red lines on the packaging? To me, that just added to the terror of the movie. Like these lines were a warning that you were going to see some pretty scary stuff. Yep, those red lines of danger were very effective. Here's my VHS for Jaws 3D. Terrible movie, brilliant artwork packaging though. You look at this cover and it just looks like you're in for one epic Jaws adventure, but yeah, sadly that's not so much the case. Here's a VHS copy of Jaws the Revenge. This is an ex-rental, and so it's in really bad condition and is all beaten up. Like with Jaws 3D though, bad movie but still brilliant artwork on the packaging. This is my VHS of Duel. Yeah, I know that this is a Jaws collection, but to me this counts, as Duel kind of is a precursor to Jaws. These are the Spider-Man and Superman comics that featured Jaws on the covers. These were published right in the Jaws craze. Now, I haven't read the Spider-Man one yet, but in the Superman one, the shark is only there at the very end in just one panel, so it's a bit of false advertising here. It even says Jaws on the cover if you look closely. So yeah, once again, this was capitalizing on the Jaws craze. This is the original John Williams score of Jaws that was released on vinyl record all the way back in 1975. And sadly, as you can see, it's a bit worn by its age. I got it secondhand. Here we have the record soundtrack for Jaws 2, which features the alternative movie poster, where Tina actually tries to help Eddie in the boat, which doesn't happen in the movie. It doesn't. Go back and watch it. And of course the soundtrack for Jaws 3 on vinyl record. Yes, for some reason I have this. Well, I guess it just goes with the collection, and once again the artwork is pretty amazing. And of course a recent re-release of the Jaws soundtrack, hence its more modern artwork. Here is the Jaws game, where I believe you have to pull items out of the shark's mouth. I'm not too sure as I haven't played it, I'm more collecting it and preserving it. This game has been out ever since the first Jaws movie, but I do believe that this particular game is one that came out with the release of Jaws the Revenge. Now we have my Jaws t-shirts. This is the shirt that I've been wearing during this video. Here's a blue tie-dye one, which really needs an iron. And here's another one with the poster on it, which also needs an iron. Yeah, these t-shirts have been sitting in a drawer for a while. Now this is the most bizarre piece of the collection, a rubber Jaws mask, where you can wear the head of the shark. But good luck with that, as this thing stinks. It smells incredibly rubbery, and I mean like really rubbery, where it's just like, ugh. And no, this isn't an item that some random lunatic has put together either. This is an actual licensed Jaws mask. And wow, did I mention it really smells bad. Here is a Jaws jigsaw puzzle. Nothing else to say really, it's a Jaws jigsaw puzzle. Okay, now we're getting really nerdy, as I also have Jaws Monopoly. Yep, do not pass go, and do not tell Harry that he has a bad hat. Monopoly finally comes in Jaws version, at last. Here we have the Jaws plush toy, so you can cuddle up to Jaws, I guess. And here we have Jaws socks. Come on, who wouldn't want to wear a funky pair of Jaws socks? And a Jaws notebook. Nothing else to say really, I mean it's a notebook. And of course it wouldn't be a complete collection without the Jaws movie poster. It's hanging up in my dining area and it's sitting next to the Back to the Future movie poster, making the wall that bit more awesome. And now for the number one item, the one that truly proves my Jaws fandom and takes it to the next level. Something that people will think is either cool or disturbing that I have this, but yeah, here we go, Jaws cereal. Yep. Jaws frickin' cereal. You know that you're a Jaws fanatic when you're storing a box of Jaws cereal. I had to get this shipped in from the States and no, I'm not going to eat it, but will be storing it accordingly. So that was my collection, I hope you enjoyed it, and let's finish the countdown. Number 1, Fate of the Orca. So it's here we get to the Orca boat that is used in Jaws, one of the most memorable aspects of the movie, and one of the most well-loved and celebrated movie props of all time. This boat not only represents the battle of man versus beast in the movie itself, but also the tough battle to even get the movie made. So the question is, what became of this relic, this titan of the movie industry? Well, it was originally sold to a fisherman in Los Angeles after filming Jaws was complete. But after Jaws became a mega hit, Universal brought the boat back off the fisherman, paying him 10 times more than what they had originally sold it to him for, where it was then shipped to Universal Studios, where it was housed. One day Spielberg visited the studios and went to see the Orca, only to see that it wasn't there, and was told that they got rid of it and chopped it up with chainsaws. And Spielberg naturally was furious. It's a shame that such a treasured piece of movie history would be treated like scrap. But nevertheless, that doesn't take away from the magic that is on the screen, and that will last forever. We will forever have Jaws in our hearts. Audiences all over the world will always love this movie, as well as be intrigued by it, be amazed by it, but above all, always be terrorized by the astonishing allure of Jaws.
Smile, you son of a...
There is so much more information about Jaws out there. This remarkable movie has just as much of a remarkable story behind it. So what can I say about Jaws that hasn't already been said? No words could do it justice. All I can say is that it's a classic and a masterpiece, and it is still just as celebrated today as it was all the way back in 1975. Anyway, I'm Minty. And if you watch Jaws backwards, it's about a shark who survives an explosion and then swims around an island spitting people out. Yeah, see ya!